Amid record-setting gas prices, President Biden today urged oil companies to lower prices.
America produced 12 million barrels of oil per day. That's the highest, that's higher than average under my predecessor. This is a time of war, global peril, Ukraine. These are not normal times. Bring down the price you are charging at the pump to reflect the cost you are paying for the product. Do it now.
The president also called on Congress today to suspend the 18-cent federal gas tax for 3 months. Some experts believe approving a gas tax holiday would just increase the demand, and then prices would continue to rise. Currently, the national average for a gallon sits at $4.95. In Illinois, it's $5.49 a gallon. In the city, it's still averaging more than $6 a gallon. A lot of suffering out there. Gas Buddies Patrick DeHaan is joining us now to talk about these high gas prices. Patrick, thanks for checking in here. Let's start with that gas tax holiday. 18 cents a gallon does not seem like very much here when they're as high as they are. Do you think that it's going to do much good?
Well, it's something. It's not a whole lot of something, but it'll save the average pickup truck owner about $66 if it's signed into law, and that's over a 3-month time frame. Full-size SUV, maybe $55. Then you go all the way down to a compact car, $26.50, which breaks down to just $2 to $5 a week. So it's something, but it's not a whole lot of something, especially with these high prices in Chicago, still around $6 a gallon.
But what do you think about that argument here that lowering it at all will actually increase demand, which is really part of the problem? Do you think that that is part of the issue?
Well, as an analyst, that's certainly something that does come to mind. The worry is that, well, we're in this predicament because demand is far eclipsing supply. We're on the cusp. And if you encourage Americans to drive more, you're going to have a supply issue. And so that's the worry here, is that if enough Americans, even 1 or 2% of an increase in demand is going to be noticeable, it could exacerbate the situation we find ourselves in. And keep in mind, the peak of hurricane season is just probably about 5 weeks away. And so we could see supply challenges. And if you're talking about more consumption at a time of disruption, we could see a super spike in gas prices later this summer.
And oil companies are doing just fine, right? Are they even obliged to pass along the savings if Congress goes along?
Well, a lot of these stations, by the way, it's at the station level where this is assessed, and those station owners, 60% of stations are owned by a single store operator, kind of the mom and pop, if you will. And generally speaking, they have more expensive gasoline in their tanks under their station. So depending on how this law is written, they will absolutely pass the decrease along. But if they have expensive gasoline that is taxed still in their tanks, well, they're not going to lower prices as quickly. So it's really dependent on how the legislation is written. I think Maryland did a terrific job. Maryland had a state gas tax holiday in which they said, well, even if you paid taxes, we'll give you a refund based on what you hold. That's the appropriate way to do this. So
it sounds like you think maybe this could be a viable solution. This is, of course, a global issue here. Do you think Congress is going to go along?
You know, that's the great uncertainty here is will we see partisanship with tax relief or with price relief? And I think there probably will be. You know, there's certainly a lot of partisanship going on already. And, you know, who knows? I think we're going to see politics being played with this issue and with the overall high price of gasoline into the midterm. So, you know, don't get too excited just yet.
The president did also ask the oil companies to voluntarily lower their prices. I don't know how realistic that is, but could all of this maybe add up to sort of scale back the effects of this supply chain issue, which has really driven so much of what we're dealing with?
Well, you know, it is really interesting that the president would call on oil companies to reduce their price. That would be akin to asking somebody in the Chicago market selling their home to sell it under the market price. This is a commodity that's determined by supply and demand. Right now, the housing market's very, very hot. There's not enough sellers and there's too many buyers. And that same issue is afflicting the price of oil. Oil companies don't control prices. They are certainly beneficiaries. So I don't see how this is going to change. Now, it is noteworthy. The president said that Secretary Granholm is going to sit down with refiners tomorrow to talk about what they could potentially do. That's one of the biggest kinks in the hose now. It's not necessarily Russia's war in Ukraine, but it's getting that oil refined into something more usable, like gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel at a time of surging demand.
Patrick DeHaan with Gas Buddy. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
All right, take care.